Hello, Yamalnika here. When checking YouTube, I came across quite some videos about the new top champion Geeta. Most of them talk about her and her bad team, basically calling her a bad champ. But in this video, I will convince you that she is in fact not that bad. Well, kinda. Honestly, you really have to bear with me here and sit this one through to the end. Evidence 1. Context in the game. First, let's take a look at her portrayal in the game's story and the implications of her title. She is introduced as the top champion and the chairwoman of the Pokémon League, usually called La Primera, which means the first. But what does this title top champion actually mean? The game tells us that she is basically the boss of all champ rank trainers. Multiple times is she being called the strongest or something akin to that. Also, when we defeat the Elite Four, she is the immediate next opponent we face, not unlike every champ we faced before in each gen. She is the toughest opponent we face throughout the gym challenge, the final hurdle trainers need to face, the last obstacle before becoming a champ rank trainer. She serves the role of the final exam. But it's quite different than is implied. Not unlike what happened in Kanto, we are not the first to face and defeat her. She has a similar story to Lance here. And after we defeat her, we have to battle Nemona. And Geeta herself said when talking about Nemona that she assumes she did not give her best when fighting against her, throwing off all the implications the game made before and putting the title of top champion into question. With how the game portrays it, the title functions just like that. The title of the final obstacle of the gym challenge, and the boss of the gym leaders and Elite Four. Evidence 2. Parallels in the narrative. In the game, in 2 of the 3 storylines, before you can battle the final boss of that arc, there is somewhat of a fake final boss before that. In the gym challenge, it's Geeta you face after beating the Elite Four, which then leads you to challenge Nemona. In the Team Star story, it's director Clavel, who, spoilers, tells us he's in fact not only Clive who supported throughout the story, but he is Cassiopeia, the boss of Team Star as well. I know, it's mind-blowing. But after beating him, he tells us that he actually lied, and we have to face the real Cassiopeia. Oh my god. Okay. Now, the 2 characters are put into similar narrative positions, as being the second strongest of the storyline. But that's not all. In the Ace tournament, the final battle will always be either against Elite Four member Hassel, top champion Geeta, director Clavel, or Nemona, but we'll leave her for later, just focus on the other 3. This tells us the only character that managed to get as far as you will be either one of them. All work as the in-fact end boss of the Ace tournament. Now, if we treat it like all always participate, if either one of them is the end boss, this would imply that Hassel, Clavel and Geeta can either win or lose against each other. Another thing to keep in mind here is, Geeta herself said she is incapable of holding back in Pokemon battles, meaning that if they beat her, they did that while she was giving it her best. No such thing as holding back for the tourney, thus making them all about equal in strength. The argument against that would be, what if Clavel or Hassel are only the end boss when Geeta doesn't apply? But since this is nowhere mentioned or implied, we can just as likely assume that Geeta is only the end boss if Clavel and Hassel don't apply, which makes the argument loose at best, and either option is viable, mine or the argument against it. Going with my assumption, that would make director Clavel, Elite Four Hassel and top champion Geeta all equals, making her less special and undermining her strength in the narrative. Evidence 3. Nemona. Nemona is the player's main rival and the only champ rank trainer we meet in the game. It is told to us that she beat the gym challenge just a year prior and is somewhat of a prodigy. In other words, way before we, the player character, arrive in the game, she already finished it. This therefore would mean she had already beaten Geeta way before we even reached her. Looking back at the second evidence and Mona being another end boss of the Ace tournament, this would therefore imply her being equal in strength to Geeta, right? While this does make sense, we can make an argument against it. Because different to Geeta, who never holds back, during the whole story of the game we saw Nemona hold back against a player in order to keep the battles engaging. It wouldn't be too far stretched to say she does the same thing during the tournament. As mentioned in the first evidence, Geeta herself said, and I quote, "When facing me in the final test of her champion assessment, she didn't reveal her full might." It is heavily implied for Nemona to be stronger than Geeta, making her holding back much more likely. So we have not only the world building of the game telling us who's stronger, but the character herself as well. With everything we deduced so far, her role in the narrative, the parallels of strength to two characters, and the admittment of being weaker, we can make an argument for her not being such a bad champ. In a way, it'll make sense in a minute. Look at it this way. What does she represent? She's a CEO. She's the one who evaluates the trainer. You need to beat her to become a champ rank. What does this mean? I think that she doesn't represent the top of Paldea. Her title, La Primera, or the First, implies she was the first person to reach champ rank. So at one point she may have been the true top champion we imagine her as. But now she's a businesswoman, and she has a job, which is to find suitable candidates to be the strongest, to become champ ranked. She serves as the final exam, not unlike the ones you will have or have overcome in your life. And not unlike them, there has to be a minimal amount of points you have to reach to pass. That is what Geeta represents. She is the minimum requirement of abilities you have to achieve to be a champ. Geeta is not the strongest trainer. And her title of top champion is just that, a title. It's what her position is called. She evaluates and serves as the governing position for the league. She is not the strongest. She stands as the last thing between the trainers and the champions. In the whole franchise, she could very well symbolize the lowest strength a champ has to possess in order to be heralded as one. She is kinda the fifth member of the Elite Four of Paldea. She is the D, the 4, or the 70 points any trainer needs to achieve to become a champ. The minimum requirement personified. Thank you to everyone who stuck around and for all the support I'm getting right now. It really helps me improve to know what you think of my videos, so I can improve further in the future. And again, I just want to thank everyone who watched this far.